If you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Anchor has all the tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your computer or your phone. No additional software is necessary. Another advantage of Anchor is you can easily distribute your podcast on all the listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place, and the best of all, it's free. So please go download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today.
Hello everyone, I'm your host J.R. Kopp, and welcome to the first podcast of PE Sim Racing, the podcast. On this first podcast, I thought it only fitting that I would bring in somebody who, for those of you that don't know, started all of this. He is the man behind PE Sim Racing. So with that, I'm going to introduce everybody to Mark Dilla Jr. Welcome to the podcast, Mark.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. So, like I said at the beginning, Mark kind of runs everything behind PE Pony Express Sim Racing. He started the leagues, he runs the team, and in addition to that, Mark also races. So, Mark, do you let's just start from the beginning. What made you start Pony Express Sim? First of all, let's just start with the beginning. Where'd the name come from?
Well, the name is probably the simplest question you'll ask me tonight. I work at the post office, and I was working at the post office when this all started. So Pony Express, just kind of a play off of my real life employment.
Perfect. I knew that, but obviously there's going to be hopefully a lot of listeners out there that didn't know that. So Pony Express, so when did you sim racing? When did you start doing that? How did you get started in it? What brought that along? Were you like a lot of people nowadays, were you a prodigy of the pandemic that brought you to sim racing, or were you in this way before that?
No, I've been sim racing for, I want to say 10, 12 years. I was never a computer gamer. I was a console only, and it was always PlayStation for me.
Okay.
So I would have to say my sim racing started back on the PlayStation 3 on the old EA Sports NASCAR games. I'm just a simpleton, a NASCAR guy that likes to turn left. And so I used to run my own leagues on PlayStation with the old NASCAR games.
Okay.
And that's where my sim racing started for me.
Okay, so you were pre iRacing, you were back old school. Wow, that takes it back. I was a PlayStation guy, but I was a Gran Turismo guy. I like to turn left and right.
I had Gran Turismo, and I like to play Gran Turismo, but I was just never any good at road racing. And I just, because I wasn't good and wasn't familiar with it, I didn't really have any interest in trying to get better at it. NASCAR was just what I grew up watching and what I felt comfortable doing.
And that makes perfectly good sense. And I guess NASCAR probably, for those people starting out, is a little bit easier to get into, especially some of the iRacing leagues. Although I've tried a few times to do the NASCAR thing, and I can't seem to get past turn 2 or 3 before the big wreck takes me out. So, how many leagues are you in right now then? Are you just strictly in the Pony Express leagues, or are you in some of those old leagues still, some of those other NASCAR leagues?
No, I am strictly Pony Express. I still know of some past leagues that I was in, and I know most of them are still around and running. But even if I wanted to do that, I don't have the time. Pony Express Sim Racing has, as we talk about all of the things it encompasses now, it's turned into a part-time job.
Well, that was what I was going to ask was, so right now, and we'll get into a little bit further, there's 4 different leagues in Pony Express. Are you, now you're kind of like the old school basketball coach. Not only are you the coach, but you're also a player. So of those 4 leagues, how many are you actively racing in?
Up until last week, all 4 of them.
So you race all 4 leagues, which, like I said, we'll discuss a little bit. How do you find the time to race all 4 leagues, which are 4 different nights of the week, or 3 different nights, whatever the case is, practice, learn the tracks, and be competitive? And run the league, make decisions on protests. How do you find the time, Mark? You got to tell me.
Well, for starters, I don't practice. So second part of my answer is I'm not competitive. Yeah, it's tough. Obviously, I have a wife and a 5-year-old son, and I work full time. I'm still at the post office. So yeah, it's tough. I don't practice. I show up for the races. Luckily, I feel like I've been doing this long enough that I know most of the tracks, or maybe I have an advantage that I make the schedules so I can put tracks that I know on the schedule. Most of the time. Sometimes I let somebody else put tracks on there, but yeah, no practice. Just show up and try to do the best I can. I don't know. Like I said, maybe I've just been doing it enough that I can kind of fall back into a rhythm semi-quickly and not be horrible. I try not to get in anybody's way. But yeah, it's and then as far as, like I said, I don't practice. And then so as far as managing everything, the league, it's just one of those things where luckily with today's technology, I can do a lot of stuff on my phone. I can always see Discord and answer people's questions and stuff like that. I can even log into iRacing on my phone and accept somebody's league request if I need to. Technology these days makes things much more accessible and easy to take care of. But really, it's do stuff late at night when everybody else is sleeping, or today was my day off, so I spent 3 or 4 hours working on league stuff today.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, some of the other things that we'll get to, I know we've got a website out there now, we've got a YouTube channel, we've got Facebook going, so a lot of things. So it sounds like you, and for the record, you didn't have to tell everybody that you set the schedule, so you picked the tracks that best suit you. You could have just left that to yourself, and nobody would have known, by the way.
Well, yeah.
Sometimes you got to keep your own secrets. I wouldn't want you to let everybody know that.
It's no big secret. When we talk about, if we get into how this whole thing started back in February, it has to start somewhere.
Yep.
Obviously, this league, it was in the beginning, the idea, everything. I know some leagues come together, there's a group of guys or whatever, and they're like, hey, let's form a league. This wasn't that type of scenario. This was 99% me, 1% my buddy Tyler. But so this was mainly me, not being able to find a league doing what I wanted to do. So I was like, all right, well, I'm going to race on a night that I can race, at a time that I can race, using the cars that I want to run, on the tracks that I want to run. And I'll put this together and put it out there. And if I can get people with a common interest to come in, and this is successful, then great. And if not, then I guess it just wasn't meant to be, you know? So it's not really a secret that obviously when I created the league solo, that I'm going to put my favorite tracks on the schedule, at least for season 1 anyways. We've just wrapped up season 3 now, later in the year. And, I let some of my admins put some other tracks on there. But for next year, when we go back to racing in January, we're pretty much going back to at least 9 of my favorite tracks out of the 13 race schedule in E4A anyways. Perfect. So it's not a big secret.
No, and especially so E4A, for those of you that don't know, is endurance for amateurs. That's one of the 4 leagues that Pony Express currently hosts. Was that the first league that you started with?
In this league, Pony Express Sim Racing, yes. The first series was endurance for amateurs. Obviously, that's a long ways. That's a big difference from where I started, back in the PlayStation days and doing just NASCAR. So, I took. Do you want me to go back, or do you want me to just talk about E4A?
No. Let's go back. Let's figure out what. I mean, I guess listening. I'm curious why you didn't start a NASCAR league first. With all your background in NASCAR, I would have figured a NASCAR league would have been your first choice and then branch out into other things. But it seems like you went for a road racing league first, which is something that you admittedly weren't the best at. So why would you want to start that road? I would have figured you would have been, let's do a NASCAR, and then all of a sudden, hey, you got these other guys and they want to do a road racing course. That's kind of interesting. So what made you start that route?
Well, to be fair, it's not really a first or a start thing. I ran those leagues on PlayStation, PlayStation 3, then we moved to PlayStation 4, and then I want to say 2012-ish, something like that, 2013 maybe. I had bought a newer computer. And I was just sitting around one day, and I was like, I had heard of iRacing, and I was just sitting around one day, and I was like, I wonder if this new computer I have is good enough that I could finally try iRacing. And so I did. I signed up for iRacing and messed around with it just a little bit, and then I ended up a couple of buddies from the PlayStation racing days. I ended up coming across them, and they told me about this game called NASCAR Racing 2003, which, for anybody who doesn't know, that is actually the precursor to iRacing. That's where iRacing came from.
Yep.
So I kind of went backwards. I found iRacing and then went backwards to NR 2003 because I had never had obviously, like I said, I didn't have a decent computer till 2012 or whatever. So at that point, NR 2003 had been around for a decade and was already, dead, freeware.
Yeah, I was going to say long forgotten already.
Yeah. But anyway, so what drew me to NR 2003, it's a really good game. There's so many different mods and cars and tracks, and you can race against the AI, and it was just such a huge change from the EA Sports NASCAR games on PlayStation.
Oh, definitely.
So I got into that, and I ran in some leagues with those buddies on NR 2003, and then I ended up finding a league called FSB Racing, and that is where Pony Express, the team, Pony Express, started out as a sim racing team. That's where I created that. Let me back up 2 seconds. So in FSB Racing on NR 2003, they had a Tuesday night super speedway league. So that's like really not not to be derogatory to anybody, because I was doing it, super speedway racing is like NASCAR for dummies. Literally, you just hold the gas and turn left. You're just at Daytona and Talladega. That's it. You're not running anything tricky.
Yeah, you don't have to slow down. You don't have to brake. You just, like you said, wide open. You might have to let off a little bit if you're drafting too much, but otherwise, it's like you said. That's the type of NASCAR racing that I could do because there's no thought process. It's just hold the gas and go.
The trick with super speedway racing, though, you got to have some friends. Somebody's, there's a lot of bump drafting and pushing, and so you're going to need some help if you really want to be successful at it. And so in this league, you were allowed to have four drivers on a team. And so I knew a couple other guys had just joined. Sean Reap, he had just joined FSB Racing at the same time as me, maybe a couple weeks after. And so I was just like, hey man, let's start a team. We'll call it Pony Express. We'll get some guys together, and I think we can do something in this super speedway series. And long story short, Sean Reap made all the Pony Express logos. So that's what people today ask me what font is in the Pony Express logo. I can't tell you because I have no idea. I didn't make it. Sean Reap made all the logos. He still represents Pony Express over there in FSB Racing. He actually does live broadcasting now. But yeah, Pony Express does still exist over there. We did. So we formed Pony Express. At one point, we had gotten up to like 8 drivers in our team. We were kind of bending the rules, and we created a Pony Express 1 and Pony Express 2 because you're only allowed to have 4 guys on a team.
Nice.
So we just made 2 teams. So we could have 8 guys. And, a super speedway race, you get 30 cars at Daytona, and 8 of them are your teammates, and you're working together. It led to a lot of freight train effort by us and a lot of wins, a lot of championships. We were very successful, and they're, like I said, Pony Express is still over there and still being very successful in all of their leagues. But I got to a point where at a certain point, the graphics just weren't there for me. I started tinkering around with iRacing again after a few years on NR 2003, and I was like, I just had to go back to iRacing because the graphics, obviously a game made in 2003 it can only go so far. And so that's what led me back to iRacing. And then, I continued on. I was still Pony Express, and I hosted a couple leagues here and there. I think my first one was the little Legends cars running around short tracks. That was pretty successful. That was good. And then we still had Pony Express, the team. iRacing has all the special events, the 24 hours at Daytona, stuff like that. So we were doing stuff like that, getting together, running those races. But we were mostly still NASCAR focused. We used to all get on. At one point, there was probably about 14 of us on the team, and we would all get on at like 9 o'clock Friday night and sign up for the official open setup trucks, fixed setup trucks. And so you'd get into these official iRacing races, and there'd be like 10 of us in the same split, and it was just like super speedway at FSB all over again. 8 of us dominating the field, and we had a good run of success. A few of us won some championships. We won a lot of races. It was good times. And then real life hit. Like I said, I have a 5-year-old son. So he's almost 6. So about 5 years ago or so, everything was kind of wearing down. People were starting to get busy with real life. I moved across the country from Colorado back to Michigan. And so I ended up taking almost 2 years off of sim racing. And then one of my buddies, who I had known from NR 2003 days all the way up to running on the iRacing team with me, was Tyler Bergert. And he kind of talked me into, like, it was just one night. It's like, hey, I'm running the Daytona 500 or whatever. Come spot for me. So I did. And, he was like, hey, let's join this league or whatever. And I think we ended up joining an ARCA league. And we weren't that impressed with management, with how it was going. We didn't like how it was being run. You would have an admin just throw a caution flag because he needed one. Yep. Stuff like that. I'm just not into that type of, for lack of a better word, cheating, or bad sportsmanship, whatever you want to call it. So I was like, you know what? We've tried a few of these NASCAR leagues that you want to do on Wednesday nights. Wednesday night was the only night Tyler was available to race. So we tried. I was like, you know what? Let's just start our own league again. It's been a couple years. I'll do all the work. You don't even have to do anything. And he's really busy with farming and stuff during the summer. So I was like, you know what? I'm bored. I'm tired of turning in circles. After a while, oval racing, you think it's repetitive to begin with. Do it for a few years, and you're like, man, I'm tired of turning left. And so I really enjoy the road racing, the challenge of trying to memorize, 13 different corners or whatever it is versus, I just got to memorize these 3 left turns on an oval, Yep. So I really like the challenge and the payoff when you can put together a good lap on a road course like that. Me, it takes a lot of skill to do that. And so when I decided I was going to put together a league for us, I guess this would have been back in February of this year. Initially, I was thinking, you know what? I want a team league. iRacing has these endurance series that runs, the 3-hour races or the 6-hour races, but they only run like 2 races a week, and none of them are in a slot that I can do. So I want to put together a team series, on a night, every Wednesday night we run a 3-hour team race or whatever. But then I got to thinking about it more, and I was like, I don't want to alienate anybody who doesn't have a teammate, can't find a teammate, doesn't want a teammate. So what if I do a road racing endurance league solo, for individuals, but also for amateurs. So that's how it came about, 100-minute races every Wednesday night, and a 2,500 cap on the IR to keep the aliens out.
Yeah. So
that was a long story, but that's how E4A came to be.
No, that's perfect. So for those listening, normally, and Mark can jump in here if I get something wrong. Normally when you're doing road racing, we do what's called sprint races, whether they're 25, 30-minute races. Some of the shorter ones are 15, 20-minute races, but on average, they're roughly usually under an hour. A lot of the endurance races you start to get into 90-minute, like Mark said, our current league is 100 minutes, and usually those would be 2 guys, where you have a minimum run time. What Mark's done is we've created an endurance league where they're 100 minutes, but they're solo. So you have a 100-minute race where you're running solo, which is kind of a precursor to if you're going to do team endurance racing, because you're probably going to run a couple hour stints per driver. So this is a really good practice league for that kind of racing going in. And one of the other things Mark mentioned was the iRating cap of 2,500. Now, Mark might be able to explain this a little bit better, but in iRacing, you make and gain your iRating based on how you raced, how you finished, how many incidents you had, how many crashes you were in, and it fluctuates. And and correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, but all of Pony Express is 2,500 and under, right? None of the leagues are anything different, correct?
Currently, all 4 series are 2,500 and under.
So 2,500, which sounds like a big number, but I think isn't 10,000 the actual like iRacing cap? Like, there's a few guys that are at the 10,000 mark.
Honestly, I don't know. I don't think that there is a cap. Maybe there is. But I do know you are correct. There are some people, I believe, on the road and oval side, because you get different iRatings for all 4 skills.
Yeah.
Dirt road, dirt oval, asphalt, road and oval. But yeah, I do know that there are guys on road and oval side with over 10K iRating. So yeah, it can go that high. And when I started E4A, we had actually set it at 2,000.
Yep, I remember that was the first season, was 2000.
But then we kind of figured that might be a little low. And the only reason I say that is because when you first start on iRacing, you start with a rookie license, and you don't have an iRating until you get out of rookies.
Yep.
But when you do get out of rookies, your iRating starts at 1,350.
Yeah, so you're almost there already.
Exactly. So 2,000, that's only 650 over where you start. So that's why we decided to bump it up to 2,500, and that's our cap, and that's what we've had for the last 6 months.
Yeah, and I think being an amateur league, that's a great number. Like you said, you don't get what Mark referred to as the aliens, which are the guys that are so fast you're not really sure how they're that fast, but they are. And you can watch YouTube videos. We Mark, I think you and I, we both did the Bathurst. Was it the 10 hours of Bathurst or whatever that race was? Or the
12.
The Bathurst
12. 12 hours of Bath. Yep.
And we all were just amazed. We watched Max Verstappen, F1 driver, do his qualifying lap. From all the videos and commentary I talked, it looks like he sat down in his sim, ran an out lap, ran a qualifying lap that was 10 seconds faster than anything I had ever seen, and then was like, all right, cool, thanks, guys. It's just, that's the kind of guys we're trying to eliminate joining our league, because it's not going to be any fun for anybody else. Nobody wants to get into a series where you're constantly battling for 8th place because the top 7 guys are 4 seconds a lap faster. It's not any fun. And the iRating cap at 2,500 eliminates that. Would you agree with that, Mark?
I wouldn't say that it completely eliminates it. Anybody who's been around iRacing for long enough will tell you that, just like any other game / sim, the iRating system is not perfect. But the 2,500 cap does do a very good job of keeping the aliens out of the league. Yes.
Yeah. And I've raced 3 seasons now, and some races I'm more competitive than others, but at no point in time have I ever been, oh, great, this guy's in the race. Well, we're all fighting for second place now. That, typically doesn't happen. And we'll break down the leaks here, but Mark's also put in some great things to stop that from happening year season after season. Once you win a division, you're forced to move up. You can't just stay down there and sandbag and win championships. You're forced to move up against the faster cars and the better drivers, which is something that also makes this league really great for people not just starting out, but that want to be competitive, that aren't exactly the best. Because we're not all going to be Max Verstappens, but we all want to be able to get out there and compete and have fun and at least think we have a chance at winning. That's kind of the key. I don't necessarily know I'm going to win, but at least I think I might be competitive, and that's really what keeps me coming back, is the chance of winning, because you never know when you're going to have, like Mark said, you start to put together those perfect laps, and all of a sudden, you're like, wow, I just shaved off a second, and now I'm really competitive. So that's one of the great things about this league, and all of the leagues. Now, like we said, there's 4 leagues now, Mark, right? There's NASCAR for amateurs, Open Wheel for amateurs, Endurance for amateurs, and is it PEP 4? Is that how we're going with that? That's
yes.
Pro...
Pony Express Pro 4s.
Pro 4. So that's off-road trucks, correct?
Yep, the Lucas Oil Pro 4 trucks.
Now, you started with endurance for amateurs. What was it just a natural progression to bring the other three leagues on, or was there more? Well, let me bring this back. One, I do have a question. When we started this league, was there a lot of initial interest, or has it grown? Now, I know the COVID pandemic brought a ton of people to iRacing. Did that help your league, do you think?
It certainly didn't hurt. I don't think iRacing's hurting for money right now. iRacing got huge during COVID. You know, they were on, when NASCAR got shut down, iRacing started on TV NASCAR sim racing with the pros running. iRacing blew up thanks to COVID, because everybody's locked at home, but you can still get on your computer and race.
If you were lucky enough to find gear.
Yeah.
For a long time there, it was hard to find any components. I mean, when I started iRacing 5 or 6 years ago, I had the Logitech G29 wheel, like probably 80% everybody else, and I think I paid $200 at Best Buy. When COVID hit, I had just upgraded to some better equipment, and I looked, and it was $500 for the same wheel. I was like, okay, so, iRacing blew up. Now, I guess we were kind of right in the middle of the pandemic, so that had to help bring the people. How many people, do you remember how many people you had for the very first league?
I remember we did, I did a few practice recruitment races.
Yep.
And
Which, by the way, I won one of those, in case anybody's wondering.
In order to garner interest, sometimes you got to toss around money or broadcast or trophies or whatever it may be. Sometimes you want to sweeten the pot a little bit, make sure you get some attention.
Yep.
So we did some like $20 to win recruitment races. I feel like in those recruitment races, if I recall correctly, we were probably 10, 12, 14 drivers in each of those.
Yep, that sounds about right. So we had, say, when we started the league, there's probably 20 guys in that first league. That'd be a pretty rough estimate.
Yeah, I'd say we were probably getting about 14 that showed up. There was probably 20 guys. We know people miss week and whatnot. I'd say we probably had about 14 cars per race.
Now, you just finished season 3 in Endurance for Amateurs. How many did we end up with that season?
I believe we had over 40 every race. Our record, I think, was 47.
So in 1 year, you basically quadrupled your league, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is. We've gotten pretty big. As it stands right now, the league in its entirety has 210 people.
Wow, that's pretty impressive for something that you made a post not too long ago about how you wanted to make sure this doesn't turn into a pay-to-race league. Can you tell everybody kind of what your thoughts were on that one? I know that was a big thing for you, was to make sure that you kept this league inexpensive, because you had mentioned in your post that we're already all paying $100 a year for iRacing, and you're paying $15 a car and $15 a track, and there are a lot of leagues out there where you got to pay $30 to get in. Now, once again, next year, if I'm not mistaken, we are show up and race. There's no additional cost. Is that correct?
That's correct. And for me, that goes all the way back to NR 2003 and all the leagues I was in. FSB, not knocking FSB. I loved FSB. I still like FSB. They were ran and operated as a business. So it was, I believe it was $5 a month to be a member and race. I think it was $10 a month if you wanted access to more than one series, because they run 7 nights a week, 6 nights a week. So for $5 you could do one series, for 10 you could do them all. Anyways, it was run as a business, and I paid my $10 a month for a few years, and it was worth it. But on the flip side of that, most of the other leagues that I ran in our 2003 were free. They were ran by passionate owners and admins who felt strongly about what they were doing, and they ran such a good league that whenever they needed money to pay for to rent a server or whatever they were trying to do to pay for their broadcast, they would just ask their members, hey, we want to do this, or we need to do this. Can we get any donations? And people would, because if people are obviously going to be willing to pay for something good. So then you come over to the iRacing side, and our 2003, like we said, is free. It's freeware. iRacing, now you're paying $100 a year for your membership. Like you said, all the tracks and cars. It's expensive to do. It can be expensive to do iRacing. And so I feel like if I can just put together a good enough place where people want to be and want to race, that then they'll be willing to make any donations that we might need when it comes to trophies and broadcasts. I've honestly never really raced anywhere where I was getting trophies or I was on a broadcast. And as cool as I think that might have been, for me, it's not a game changer. I know you'll see some people out there, hey, are there any leagues with live broadcast or cash prizes? Or, for me, it's not a game changer. I'll run in a good league that doesn't have anything other than good racing, because that's what I'm looking for. It's good racing. And so that's why if we get donations here, then, yeah, 100%. We'll put out trophies to the champions. We'll pay some of these broadcast companies to come in and broadcast our series. But that's all based on our drivers and what they want and what they are willing to donate. I'm never going to be mad or disappointed if that goes away. As long as we still have good racing here and a good community, I personally could care less if we're on YouTube. Or if I happen to win a championship, if I get a trophy or not. That's not a game changer for me. But I do appreciate all the support that all of our members have made in the last 9 months. And yes, for 2022, all 4 series will be broadcast live on YouTube, and championship trophies. I mean, we're 6 weeks out from even kicking off those 4 seasons, and everything is paid for. I ordered, I paid all the broadcasters today. I ordered all of last season's trophies. The donations have been very generous, and obviously I'm grateful for that. I hope all the league members are grateful for that, because they're the ones who are getting, the trophies in the broadcast. I don't, like I said, to me, it's not a game changer. I don't watch the broadcast. I don't even have time to watch the broadcast.
I was going to say.
Just like I don't have time to practice. But,
yeah, right.
But I do appreciate that everybody likes being here that much. And the people who make those donations so that everybody here can enjoy in those broadcasts and trophies.
Yeah, I think as a person who's strictly a racer now, I don't dive into the admin part. I am part of the Pony Express team itself, but I know my family members and friends, they enjoy the podcast. They think that's something that's just crazy that we offer that. So going into the broadcast now, there's been a little talk about in-house broadcasting. Care to explain what's going on there? Are we still doing? I know when we started out, we were doing ESPN, and then there was whatever happened there, and then we went to I'm not sure the name of the other broadcast company, and now I kind of maybe heard a rumor that Sam might be coming back. Can you want to explain that one to us? Because I know a lot of people enjoy Sam. Sam's a great broadcaster. So what's cooking there, Mark?
So yes, last season, 2 seasons ago, we had found ESPN, owned and operated by Sam Cooper Bennett. And we ended up coming up with the funds to have E4A broadcasted by him and his company. And then we move along to season 3. We came up with the funds to have it broadcasted by him again. Unfortunately, at that point, Sam had kind of got burnt out on broadcasting. I think he was doing several nights a week. But he had built up such a big, good thing, a good audience and subscriber base and all of that stuff. I don't know all of the details, but I believe another broadcasting crew approached him about buying him out. Essentially, hey, we want your YouTube channel and your name and all the subscribers, the reputation, everything that comes with it. We'll give you this amount of money, and you can walk away and we'll take it over. And I guess he did that. So essentially, he sold his company, and he stepped away from broadcasting. Was going to return to racing, I believe. And luckily, the guys who bought out ESPN, that was in the middle of our season 3. They stuck around and broadcasted the rest of our season. Now we have another company called Extreme Sim TV who did our first season of the Pro 4 trucks. So now fast forward into now, and we're starting to take in donations again, getting quotes from broadcasting companies. We're trying to figure out, can we raise the money to have our series broadcast next season? And we get all the way to the point where I've got all the quotes. We've raised 90% of the money. And I'm getting ready to pull the trigger and pay ESPN again to broadcast for our next season. And we decide last minute that, we have our own YouTube channel. I used to broadcast. That's a whole nother long story. I want to say 2017, I was broadcasting like 5 nights a week for that whole year. But anyways, which also led to part of the reason why I took a 2-year break. But yeah, we got our own channel. We've got a couple subscribers. We're nothing big and fancy. But we wanted to explore the option of, what if we could just have somebody, we have 210 people here. Maybe we have a couple people who know how or want to try and just get in the software, get in the booth, the virtual booth, and broadcast our races on our own YouTube channel, instead of always trying to go around finding broadcasters, whatnot. Basically, long story short, I can't go into all the details, but we have decided to do that. Sam Cooper Bennett has come aboard. He's coming back. He's coming out of retirement. He's going to be in the virtual booth. He's going to be doing some broadcasting. He's going to be Monday and Wednesday nights, our E4A and our O4A, which is the open wheel series. And then we still have Extreme Sim TV on board. They're still going to do our late night Monday Pro 4 series, as well as our Friday night NASCAR series. So all 4 series will be broadcast. Sam's going to be with us 2 nights a week, and then Extreme Sim will do the other 2. Because obviously, Sam, we don't want to burn him out.
Yeah.
So 2 nights a week we're great. Everybody, Sam is from across the pond, so he's got that accent, and everybody loves it.
Yes. Yes.
I think everybody's going to be really, really excited to have him back.
I am
following the race.
I'm looking forward to spending some time in the booth with him. I can't wait.
Yeah, Monday nights you're going to, I believe.
Yes.
Hop in there and help Sam out, and that'll be great. I think Dennis and Byron will be helping him out on Wednesday nights.
Yeah, we're all gonna take turns jumping in there, so I think it'll be great, and looking forward to it. So, like Mark was mentioning, we have our own YouTube channel, so you can check us out at Pony Express Sim Racing on YouTube. We have our own website. We'll put the link to that in there. It's not PonyExpressSimRacing.com, at least not yet.
Yeah, that one's a little complicated.
Yeah, but we'll work on that. So I'll put the links to those in the description. There's also, is it just Pony Express Sim Racing? Is that the Discord channel, Mark? Or is it not quite? Okay. So you can find the whole group there. That's a great place to just jump in, join the server. There's all kinds of people that are great. Now, there's also Mac Johnson is doing a post-race show on Facebook where he's going to do post-race interviews for the Endurance for Amateur Leagues. He's a big Endurance for Amateurs guy, so I'll put him on, I'll put the link to that as well. So let's I want to give a shout out to everybody in all 3 leagues or 4 leagues this year. Now, I don't know, Mark, if you know, you were involved in all of these, so you want to just start at the Open Wheel for Amateurs, and we'll just break down how the season went, just kind of a quick, brief overview of how the last season went?
Yeah, we can do that. Obviously, the first race of the week is Monday nights. That's our Open Wheel for Amateurs series using the Dallara F3 cars.
And now fixed setups, correct?
Yes, all 4 of our series are fixed setup with on top of that 2500 IR.
Yep. So for those of you that don't know, fixed setups means everybody's car is the same. iRacing allows you to change just about everything in the car. For open wheel setup, for open setups, we run strictly fixed setups, so everybody's car is the same. So it's strictly driver skill. You can't say his car is faster because of this. It's strictly fixed setup, so everybody races. And you said you do the Dallara F3 for the open wheel?
Yes.
Perfect. Now, you're going to hear this name a lot. Dennis Diaz, I believe, was the champion in that league.
It was. Dennis started he ran a couple races towards the end of our first season. And then this was his full season in the O4A. He decided to run it and try to make a run for the title. He had some close competition, but he definitely showed why he's got as many championships as he does. And yeah, he came out on top of the O4A series.
So, and then David Lehman took second, and then Steve Rubens took third place this year. So it looked like it was a pretty close points battle too. So that was really awesome to see.
It is. And let me just mention that in that O4A series, we ran heat races. So we ran a 30-minute race, and then we flipped the field. We inverted the whole field and ran another 30-minute race. So those guys, Dennis, David, Steve, if they would go out there and win the first heat, then they'd have to start from back in, 12th place in the second one and have to try and get back up to the front again.
Oh, wow.
So there's a big twist in the O4A series. It's going to be a little different next season, but there was an inverted field, and so those guys really had to work to earn those points.
Awesome. Well, that's interesting. I can't wait to broadcast that next year. That should be fun. So, Endurance for Amateurs. This, correct me if I'm wrong, is probably the biggest series that we have as far as numbers.
Definitely. Yeah, not even close.
So in the Endurance for Amateurs, there actually is a multi-class racing. So there's actually 3 different classes all racing at the same time. So we have GTE, GT3A, and GT3B. And the GTE winner, again, is Mr. Diaz. Is that the second year or the third season in a row he's won?
3 in a row.
3 in a row, which, for those of you listening, you'll notice that he's not going to be racing in it next year. So I would imagine Mr. Terry Kroger, who took second, and David Lehman, who took third, are probably not mourning the loss of Denny's. Although he's going to be with us still, he's not going anywhere. He's still racing in other leagues and racing on the team. But imagine those guys will be happy that they won't have to fight for him for a championship next year.
Well, and so I guess that's a little bit of a segue into, I mentioned earlier the 2500 IR cap that we have how it's not a perfect system as far as judging someone's skill or speed or whatever you want to call it. And so the admins and we have actually created a fair competition clause that is in the rules, that if anybody wins 3 championships in one of these amateur series, then they've clearly established
that they're not an amateur.
That they're not, at least compared to the rest of the field, that they are no longer, in our eyes, an amateur. And so so that's why Dennis he's won 3 in a row. He's never lost as far as E4A goes. He is. He's retiring from E4A as a driver, but he is going to be taking over. Well, he's going to be the steward of E4A in the next season. So he's going to be the eye in the sky, watching things, making sure no funny business is going on. I think he might also be in the booth with Sam while he's doing that, in case if Byron's not around. I think Dennis will get in the booth and help that, so Sam's not in there alone. But yes, we have created that fair competition clause because the 2500 IR is not a perfect system. Where if you come into Pony Express Sim Racing and you run one of these amateur series that we offer, once you've won 3 championships, we feel that you have established that you're above us. And that we don't consider you an amateur anymore, and so hopefully we can find something else for you to do. And I think that's, Dennis will still be running Monday nights next season, as far as I know. He's going to go for a 2nd championship in a row in the O4A.
Awesome. So we bring us to GT3A, and we had Carl Handwerk, who won the championship, followed by Aaron Clayball and Nicholas Paletti. Now, again, we come up with that fair competition clause. Is Carl asked to move up to GTE now, or how does that work?
No. So you mentioned that earlier. This was actually our first season having 3 classes. The first 2 seasons, it was just GT3 and GTE.
Yep.
But we decided, because we had gotten so big and, there's 40 plus people, we wanted to have a 3-class system to give more people an opportunity to win or race for a championship or whatever. And, but we didn't feel like we were ready to add the LMP2 or the GT4. We didn't feel like we were ready to add a 3rd type of car. So what we did is we split the GT3 field because it was so big in season 2. And because we operate with fixed setups, we were able to, let's make a intermediate setup for the GT3A that's going to require a little bit more skill to drive. And then let's make a GT3B class that is very, very new driver friendly. It's planted to the ground. You don't have to practice. You can just hop in and drive it. And so that's what we did. We split we split GT3 into 2 separate classes, as well as still having the GTE. And yes, for the last season 1, season 2, we did have a type of promotion system where we were moving people up or locking them into the top if they were already up there. Moving into January of next year, though, we have decided that we're going to add the LMP2. So
the LMP2 is a much faster car than any of these, for those of you that aren't iRacing regulars.
Correct. And because it's a completely different beast, because it's a completely different car, we're not enacting any type of promotion system moving from this 3-class setup that we had this season into the completely different 3-class setup we have in January.
Okay.
So nobody has to move up, down. As of January, when we start and we introduce the LMP2 car, everybody is free to pick and choose whatever they want. But yes, moving forward, there will be a promotion system similar to what we had in the past. The caveat to that is that we keep the LMP2.
Okay.
I was never, that's the reason we never added it to begin with, because I'm not 100% sold on it. So we're going to have to see how the season goes. But if the season goes good with the LMP2 and we keep those classes moving forward, yes, we will have some type of promotion system where the top 3 in each class have to move up or whatever it may be.
Gotcha. So GT3B, we had, was it Roger Shank, William Alcala, and Gareth McAllister were the top 3 in that class. Another very close all year long battle, so that was pretty awesome to watch. I unfortunately got to watch a lot more than I got to race, so I got to see a lot of those guys racing.
It was. In GT3B is actually the only one that came down to the season finale at Watkins Glen. Dennis and Carl had already locked up their championships a week prior. But headed into the Glen, William Alcala had a shot at the title. But Roger he was flawless. 0 incidents, won the race. In fact, Roger had a lot of races this season where he had 0 incidents. He's very clean, very flawless. If you're going to beat Roger, you're going to have to do it on your own. You're going to have to find the speed to beat him, because he's not going to make a mistake for you to get by him.
Yeah. So for those of you that are not big iRacing people, you get incident points for just about anything. I mean, you put a wheel off the track, you get an incident point. So for somebody to do a 100-minute race with 0 incidents is absolutely amazing. I mean, you're talking near perfection on every single lap. And doing it with 45 other cars on the track where you're not getting bumped by them. So that's a big shout out to Roger for that. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and to put that into perspective, that 12 hours of bath that you were talking about with Max Verstappen,
yep,
he ran that whole 12-hour race with 0 incidents.
And
55 other cars on the track.
55 other cars on the track, absolutely flying. And that's day, night on a track that is
completely unforgiving.
You cannot put a wheel wrong on that track without you're towing back to the pit. It's just that unforgiving. So that's pretty amazing. Great job, Roger. So NASCAR for amateurs. Looks like Timothy Emmanuel over one of our own, Zach Nurberger, and Paul Skip. Now, I didn't. I'm not a NASCAR fan, but it seemed like that was some pretty good racing. Now you do that also. You do that just like the NASCAR does theirs, or you do the regular season and then you have the chase followed by the championship. Is that correct?
We will.
Oh, you will.
Yes, this season was just kind of a test, practice, last minute thing, put it together. So there was only 7 races. But in January, yeah, we're going to have a 22 race schedule where you have 18 races to get yourself into the top 8 in points before we start that 4 race, 2-round championship playoff format. But yeah, this season was great. Like I said, we only ran 7 races. We had 6 different winners in those 7 races. These guys finally talked me into going back to oval and making left turns only. And I got it. I did. I did.
So you won in NASCAR. How many Endurance for Amateur races did you win?
1. It took me 3 seasons to get a win in the E4A.
Well, you're one more than I have, so I can't say anything but other than good job.
Thanks. But yeah, N4A was great. It was a lot of fun. To me, that's a blast when you can show up, 6 weeks in a row and have a different winner every time. And, so these guys know, like, hey, I could win tonight.
Yeah.
To me, that really makes it fun.
Awesome. And our last series this year is the Pep 4. Now, I've tried to race off-road trucks, and it's just a disaster. So these guys, that's amazing. So your champion this year was Chris Stouffer, followed by Dennis Crosby and Jerron Valley. Now, you raced in this one too, did you not, Mark?
I did. Tons of fun. There are some twists to this as well. For one, it's run very similar to O4A, as we run a 15-minute heat race, and then we invert the whole field and run a second heat race. So, it's tough enough to drive these things, but we invert the field, and you got to try to come back up through it. And then on top of that, we don't just run on the dirt road courses that iRacing has. We also ran some asphalt road courses. We ran Lime Rock in New Hampshire road course. We ran Sonoma. Next season is going to be even more of a twist. We're adding in some of the rallycross tracks, and we'll still be running some asphalt. We're going to run Canadian Tire and Watkins Glen with the Pro 4 trucks.
Oh, that's...
It's a blast. So in these trucks, right, it feels like you're going really slow. Maybe it's because I do the E4A, and I'm used to 170 miles an hour in a GT car. Then you get in these Pro 4 trucks and you're trying to run around Sonoma or whatever, and it feels like you're going so slow. But then you go watch these broadcasts on Extreme Sim TV, and you see what the truck is doing from the outside, and you see the body roll, and it getting, the smoke coming off the tires as these things are going around the corners, and you're going a lot faster than it feels like from the cockpit.
And these aren't... This isn't your typical F-150 Chevy Silverado. These are purpose-built Baja 1000 high suspension,
yep.
Yeah, big trophy trucks that are made, to jump 20 feet in the air.
Yeah.
They're not built to go around tracks like Lime Rock, and so when you see these guys racing them, it is quite a sight to see. There's, like Mark said, there's smoke coming off of every corner. They're rolling around the corners, and you're just amazed that they don't flip over every time they make a turn.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun. I spent an hour driving the Pro 4 truck around Canadian Tire today, just trying to work on the setup. It's fun.
Awesome. So, you mentioned earlier special events. What's coming down the pipeline? I know that Pony Express, the team, does a lot of different special events in addition to hosting the league. So, what's coming up here in the future that our fans can look forward to or sign up for? There's always the possibility of there isn't just one Pony Express team. There isn't just one set of 3 guys or 2 guys that go out and do these races. We may have 6 different teams signed up to do each race because there's different splits, and so there's not just one team. There's multiple teams. So what's coming up, Mark, for special events?
Yeah, Pony Express, the sim racing team itself, I think we have like 15 guys right now. That we run the special events, 12 hours of Bath, 12 hours of Sebring, stuff like that. On that level, we don't have anything until the 24 hours of Daytona in like the 3rd week of July or January, excuse me. But league wise, this is our first break. So we've basically been running since February nonstop, just back to back seasons.
Yep.
We did take a 2-week break, I think, during season 2 and 3.
Yes.
But that was the only 2-week break we ever took. So with Thanksgiving coming up this week, Christmas, New Year's, all that stuff, we decided this is the perfect time. Let's set this up. Let's take a 6-week break, start back up in January. But at the same time, you don't want to just close your league for 6 weeks and hope everybody's still there in January. So we came up with some fun stuff. This Wednesday night, we're going to be doing a 60-minute race around Daytona Oval in the LMP2 and the Corvette GTE car. These cars are made to do road courses, but we're going to be running them 210 miles an hour around Daytona Oval. Just fun stuff like that. And then we've got...
Are we going to broadcast that one, Mark?
No, that's not broadcast.
Okay.
And then so...
At least not yet.
Yeah. And then I mentioned that we're adding rallycross tracks to the schedule for the Pro 4s. So later on, Monday night, December 6th, we're going to do a Pro 4 shakedown. We're going to run our standard Pro 4 format at Sonoma Rallycross track. So we'll run 15 in Burt's Field, run another 15. And then right after that, we're going to do it again. So a doubleheader at Atlanta Rallycross. Run
awesome.
15. So we'll be running 4 heat races on 2 different rallycross tracks. Just so everybody can get a feel for the rallycross tracks in the Pro 4 trucks. And then later on, actually before that, Friday, December 3rd, Eldora, dirt oval. That is on the schedule for our NASCAR series because we use the trucks.
Yep.
Next season. So we figured a good fun race would be we're going to run 3 heats at Eldora in the trucks, inverting the field after the end of every heat. So it's going to flip back and forth a couple times. And we figured that's just a good fun way to get everybody a little bit of dirt experience before we actually get into the season and you're running it for points. And awesome. Then mid-December, December 15th, so Nürburgring, the Green Hell, we've never run the full combined thing, 13-something miles. We've never run that full thing in our endurance series. We've run the GP version. But a lot of people want to run the full 8.5 minute per lap track. And so we're going to do 3 hours of Green Hell, December 15th. It's going to be GT3 cars only. Michael McCoy has also been kind enough to sponsor that race so that it will be broadcast live on our YouTube channel by Sam Cooper Bennett. And AlienAwards.net is also being cool enough they're going to give a plaque or plaques to the winning driver of that race, that 3-hour race at Green Hill.
Awesome. And that's December 15th.
Yes.
Great. Well, that's awesome, Mark. Well, perfect. Well, Mark, I don't think I'll keep you much longer tonight. So is there any last minute things you want to add out there? Anything that you think that people new to sim racing or to Pony Express need to know about? I think we've covered everything. Is there anything you want to mention to any of our wonderful viewers out there?
Oh, man, I just want to thank all the drivers who have made Pony Express successful. Obviously, I want to thank all of my stewards and admins who helped me do some work and keep this thing going. We talked about all the people who've made donations. And then, people like Sam Cooper Bennett doing broadcast, Extreme Sim TV doing broadcast, you putting together this podcast, getting us more attention. And then we've got some sponsors coming on board next season as well. Like I said, AlienAwards.net is going to be doing our plaques and trophies for E4A. That's owned and operated by Roger Schenk. We've got Marcus Osborne Motors is sponsoring our Pony Express Pro 4 truck. We've got Scott Hurwitt, another one of our teammates. He's a realtor. He's sponsoring the O4A series. So, yeah, Burgert Farms. Man, almost forgot that one. Tyler Burgert, one of my VPs here. I talked about Tyler from the beginning. Burgert Farms is sponsoring the NASCAR series. So, a lot of big things coming in 2022.
Awesome. That's great to hear. And many of those stewards and admins and stuff you will definitely hear from in the upcoming podcast. We will be having this weekly. We will bring on somebody from from the Pony Express team and or the league on a weekly basis. We're hoping to snag a bunch of those guys and get them in here and let them talk about their experiences and find out more about this wonderful league. So, Mark, I really appreciate you stopping by tonight and filling everybody in on kind of what Pony Express is, how it got its start, and where we hope to take it in the future.
Absolutely. Like I said, I appreciate you putting this podcast together. I hope everybody enjoys it. I think you're doing a good job. I enjoyed the pilot episode, and I look forward to tuning in whenever I get free time to listen to this and see how it goes, and hopefully see it grow just as fast as the league has.
Well, that's kind of what we're hoping. We're all kind of in this together, and hopefully we can make this grow into something that will just kind of run itself, and we'll be able to enjoy it, and more importantly, keep everybody coming back for more and having a good time, because that's really what this is all about. It's all about the camaraderie and having everybody have a good time and want to come back. So we really appreciate all the hard work you've done, Mark, in putting all this together and getting it up and running. And I can't wait to see how next season goes. It'll be really interesting to see the outcomes and see what changes could take place next year. And anytime you want to stop by again, Mark, just let me know. I'd be glad to have you back on.
Yeah, definitely. I'll have to get back on this sometime in the future and see how much it's grown and talk about how things have advanced in the league.
Perfect, Mark. Well, I look forward to having you again soon, and I will talk with you later.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Awesome. Well, there you have it. There was Mr. Mark Dillon, kind enough to join us today and break down everything Pony Express Sim Racing, from the leagues all the way down to the team, what's coming, what's in the pipeline. A lot of great news. So stay tuned for the next episode. I think we're going to have the legendary Dennis Diaz is going to be joining us next week here at the PE Sim Racing, the podcast. So take care, and we will see you next week.